Hello, welcome to Box to Board. Now, tonight we are going to look at Star Trek Adventures Klingon. I believe it's called the Klingon Empire. Now, kind of excited about this. I won't lie. It is one of those things that whenever it came in the rumors, it was like, oh, this looks good and shiny. Going to go through it. First look. The actual book is going to be out in a while, in a bit. I think it's out more or less in the autumn, the third quarter. But whenever you do a pre-order, you get a free download of the PDF, and that's what we're going to go through and have a little bit of a look at and a little bit of chat about. It's a bit of a funny beast, and I'm still trying to work out what I think about it. So this is just really first impressions. Okay, so. First thing, it is very, very strongly Klingon flavored. The look is very different to, and it's one of the things that hits you. The look is very stark, very harsh, very different to what you got with Star Trek Adventures core book. However, this is, I'm just going to say this from the get-go, as you look at the contents, one of the things that strikes you is this is a rule book. This is not an expansion. This is a rule book for Star Trek Adventures set in the Klingon world. So it's a bit like the core. There's a lot of similarities between this and the core rule book, but there's some extra content as well. Now, so you get, in terms of extra content, the flavor is different in a lot of it. So you've got a bit about the Klingon Empire and a bit about so we'll just go through. There's a lot, and go back. There's a lot about the Klingon Empire here. 12 to 71. So there's 60 odd pages about the Empire and about how the houses work and stuff like that, which is absolutely brilliant. And then we get the core rules of how they work. So that bit is actually pretty much the same as it always has been. Now, there are some noticeable changes whenever you look at how the game works. Some I am sure I have not picked up, but the most obvious one, and the one that they draw attention to, is, if I can find it, is basically character. It is basically how you level up in effect, and reputation and milestones, how those work. And I think actually from that point of view, it's really nice. You've got a really nice, clear. It feels a bit cleaner, feels a bit clearer. And actually, I'm going to use it with my Star Trek core, with my my Starfleet campaigns, because I think it makes sense. But the thing that kind of struck me was this bit kind of feels the same as the core book. And in some ways, that's really good because I like the system and it works well. But in other ways, you're kind of, yeah, okay. And there was a few times whenever it just felt as if there was literally something that was lifted and popped in, just port it across. And I can see why you would do that. But it kind of, I don't know, it felt a little bit like a missed opportunity in some ways. Then I think that's what, I think they were looking at, let's make it, the two systems compatible, let's make it work, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And to be fair, the reputation bit was confusing at times, and I think actually that's a really good development. But in terms of things like combat gear and technology and all those bits, it's there, but it doesn't feel really different to what it did before. Some of the things that so the core, so there's a chunk of this book, and I'm not going to flick through everything, but we'll sort of just whiz through in a minute or two. But there's a chunk of this book that feels very, very similar to the core rule book for the Starfleet one, and yeah, it's what it is. So I'm going to see if I can get this to do what I want to do. So I'm going to try and nip See if there's any bookmarks. Aha! So for instance, the first bit, let's just go straight to, let me, no, for some reason. Oh, there we go. So there's bits about, this early bit, chapter 2, is really good. I mean, it's really well written. It feels kind of cool. It gets you into the world. And I'm sitting looking and going, I like that. The bit about the form of the empire and how they relate to different things. The artwork, as usual, is awesome and looks good. It's got a real, Klingon kind of feel. There's some good stuff in there, and that second chapter I think is really good, and it goes through a lot of things about history and how it worked, and actually one of the things that was really nice about the other books has been these call outs, these little bits, these little sort of flavoursome, juicy bits of Star Trek memoranda and stuff. And actually, they've kept that, and I think that's really good. I really like that, and I think it's nice, and some of them are really clever. There's a few bits that they do a little bit about things for GMs and sort of other bits of history and stuff, which is quite nice. Let's have a look. So one of the bits that I actually find is obvious, is a big thing in Klingon culture, is the houses, and there's a lot about the houses that's really nice. I actually like that. I like that. Whenever there's a lot, there's enough for you to really get going with, and it kind of added a lot to it. I thought I like the idea of the houses, and one of the things that you can do is you can actually develop your own house. Which is kind of cool, and that's really nice. But just come back to that thing about the rule books, the core rules. So if you look at the core rules, it's kind of bits of it are more or less verbatim from what I can see. I may be completely wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And actually, the rule system works well. So I suppose, yeah, fair enough. But that's one of the things you're buying. So it is a different flavor of a similar book. And in that respect, the core rules are still the core rules. That does mean it's compatible, which is kind of cool. I suppose that's the other way of looking at it. Then you've got a little bit about reporting for battle. Now let's see if we can get that table. So this is character creation. So one of the things that is kind of odd to me is Star Trek Adventures has got so many species in the Federation, and this kind of makes sense the way they do it. But you've got, wait for it, here are your species. There, you've got Klingons, and you get Klingons. So you get smooth-head Klingons, and you get bumpy-head Klingons, and that's kind of it. What you do get is you get the backgrounds, I think, are going to be more important, is sort of the environment and upbringing. So environment matters a lot, and you also get the stuff around houses. I believe, I'm not sure where that comes in, but so whenever you're developing a character, you can get in there a little bit about, let's see if we can get this thing to work. You've got your different places that things come from. That adds variety and adds a bit of flavor. You get cast, which is kind of upbringing, and then you get your role. You can choose, what your training is, and this I thought was actually, quite nice. A little bit about you can roll it. And just pick out what the bits are. And actually, what I did find quite nice was the way they put these in. So there's a few boxes like this that tidy up character creation a little bit, I think. And maybe I've missed them in the core rule book, but it just feels like they've learned a little bit from the game being out a few years. And that's nice. Examples going through as always. But the next bit, there's some changes in career events, but there's not a lot of changes. One of the things that I find quite I don't know. I find this a little bit um, odd. With some of these are just basically straight pastes across, and I can understand why you would do that. But the ones that I really like are the things at Glorious Battle, if I'm honest, because they feel Klingon, you know, and that kind of gave me a, oh yeah, that's cool. I like that. So there's some really nice bits in there, but there's some bits you go, it's okay. It's the same as it was. I suppose I can see why you would do that. You know, solving the engineering crisis is pretty much the same as it was before. But part of me goes, is there a way you could have got that more Klingon-y? But I don't know. I don't know. Then you get into, you know, a little bit about names and things like that, and bits and pieces. Now let's go for a little bit further. So I'm just going to nip through some other bits. So we go into our bits about weapons and technology. And to be honest, the weapons and technology, hopefully you're getting an idea of the flavor of this. This should feel quite similar. It looks different. It should feel quite familiar because this is kind of the way the rule book was for the core book for Star Trek Adventures as well. So there's some stuff in here that you look at and you go, okay, that makes sense. And I can see the way it works, and it feels tight and it feels robust because it is tight and robust because it's basically a very similar system to what we had before. I suppose the rules, you know, knockdown still knockdown. We have some things that are a little bit more Klingon specific. I meant to say in talents, there are some Klingon specific talents as well you can get, but there are also a lot of ones that aren't. And actually, one of the things they say is you reference the other books for talents for command. There's other things that you can reference, and I can see why that makes sense. But to some extent, I'm kind of like, oh, I really wish. I don't know. I kind of wish that sort of had been in here. You know, some of the I want it to be. I don't want to have a situation where I'm making a Klingon character and then I flick over to a Starfleet character for a bit. That's a Starfleet book for a while, and then I come back. That's that's me. But I kind of want to have. I don't want the spell to be broken. You know, that I'm developing a Klingon character, and you know, I think there's some good ideas here. I think there's some really. I mean, one of the things that's quite nice is they bring in stuff like, you know, they've got different blades and all those kind of bits, and you know, different you know, bits and pieces. But I don't know, some of it just sort of struck me as being okay. That's interesting. Now I'm gonna just let's just while we're talking about that, let's go back to that. The talents you have, you know, the normal talents here. So cautious, you know, these are all the normal things. To some extent, that's understandable. And then you get I think it's 3 or 4, 5 different Klingon talents that are specific to Klingons. Um, and I think, you know, that's kind of cool. And they're actually quite good. They're a little bit specific in some ways, but that's all right. And then they've got a few ones like Vicious Strike, I think, is now Warrior Strike. You know, they've changed the names of a few things, but it kind of it's kind of odd. Um, so you've got, I don't know if I can find it again. It's just a little bit. I'm trying to find the bit that said, you know, you can reference other books, and I think that's good in the in balance. But I kind of just think maybe there was a little bit of a missed opportunity. Let me see if I can find it again. Oh yes, there's actually some bits where they would say more power. Well, that was actually a little more power in the original book. You know, they've changed the names of a few things, war leader, and they guide you a bit on that, which is kind of which I think's fine, absolutely great to do. Let's just see. Oh. And I may have misread this. And I think you can see that, you know, the gut behind it was they were trying to make this as Klingon as they could, but at the same time, it is a rule book. I'm discounting anything I've said regards the whole thing about checking another book. I think there was a reference to it, but I can't remember it. And I think that this is kind of where this is, to me, there are a few just bits here that the juicy bits come in this. It's a character development. This bit's good. So page 127, right through to find a character arc, all the way through to I think 129 and 130, is it? Yeah, reputation and how that works. And it's all clarified. I think it's a lot better than it was personally. So yeah, I think they've just made it that bit cleaner and clearer, and I like that. And one of the things that you get is you get a little download, a little sort of appendix as a download. It's really good actually. The other bit I think is quite nice, and I can see people really getting into this, is creating a house, and there's some implications around that, and that looks really interesting. And I would say that's something that, you know, as a GM setting up a party, I would probably play about with quite a lot, try to get and have a chat with them and see what kind of house they would like to have, and maybe have them all from the same house or something like that. That'd be quite nice. And I think that's a lot in there that is pretty cool. And that kind of the one of the bits that's very different. Conflict hasn't changed much. Let's see, chapter 7, to command the stars. Guess what? It's very similar to what you've seen before, I think. I may have missed some bits, but it's pretty similar. It looks familiar. Some of the ships are just basically the same ships that you've seen before. There may be a couple of new ones in there. I haven't spotted loads. The bit about GMing, I thought was actually, I don't know if there's much change in it, but it kind of, there was definitely some bits that were very similar. But there was a little bit more guidance, I think. It felt a little bit more helpful. That may be because, and there's definitely some bits that, you know, so like styles of play, you've got a few bits that are different. You get lower decks, but also you've got the, you know, proud sons and daughters of Kalis. So you've got sort of bits that are going to be Klingon, because it is a Klingon thing. In terms of for the Glory of the Empire, let me see if this is, yeah, so there's a little bit about how to run stories, and I think this bit I thought was quite good from what I've read of it. I like the idea that you've got to do stories worthy of song, what the role is, and I thought actually, in general, this seemed quite well thought through, and I thought there were some really nice bits here. And I enjoyed, you know, whenever I've looked at it, I thought, yeah, this is cool. This makes sense to me. And then the last sort of bits are things like, if I can get to it, yeah, allies and adversaries. And this is interesting because I don't know. I looked at it a little bit and I thought, I don't know how they're going to play that. So some of it is really well, you know, really well sort of, the little bits of fluff are actually very well handled. Some of it, you know, is going to look very familiar again, because it is, you know, a Bajoran is still a Bajoran. But clearly you're going to have more, you know, you're going to have more Klingon characters. There's some new ones in there. There's some interesting, you know, characters that okay, that's quite cool. I like that. And you know, I think, you know, there's some good NPCs put in. What I did notice was, whenever it sometimes felt like it was kind of like, again, this copy and paste thing going on. It in some of them later on with the Federation. I think that was it Federation or the other ones. It was, but I think that's just because we've seen them before, you know. But they're written. But whenever you look at the fluff, they're written from a different perspective. And I guess at the end of the day, whenever you look at the more generic guys, not the sort of characters, but the more generics, they're still going to be basically that. It's going to, you know, there's still a Romulan Tal Shiar agent isn't going to be more or less dangerous because the Klingons are looking at them. You know, they're still going to be as dangerous as they were. They're still going to shoot as well as they did. So it shouldn't be a big surprise. The introductory adventure looks robust. I'm not going to show you that because you might end up playing it. It looks robust, looks good, looks nice introduction. One bit I did really like as well, just in terms of, oh, that's just cool, you know, was the Klingon language primer. And I really like that. I like the idea of that. And I like, you know, it actually looks pretty, you know, it looks fun. And there's quite a lot of it that goes into how, you know, word orders work and how different bits work. And I just thought that was kind of cool. So one of the bits I meant to mention as well is they've got a brilliant bit, lovely, lovely bit on Klingon food. And you know, this is where it succeeds. I mean, if I look at this book, where it succeeds is the fluff. The fluff is brilliant. It adds something, it brings it a bit of flavour, it's got that raw kind of bit to it. You know, there's bits about the different blood wines, there's bits about the different houses. And whenever it's adding fluff, it's fantastic. It really is. The core mechanics are still the core mechanics. And this kind of brings me to where I'm at with this book. I think this could have been the most awesome expansion they could ever have made. I genuinely do. I think as an expansion, it would have been fantastic. You know, it would. You'd looked at it and went, wow, that's something else. As a core rule book, if you own the original rule book, this is just my opinion, okay? I'm kind of going, it's actually quite expensive for an expansion because there's enough there to make me go, that would be awesome as an expansion. But I feel as if, to some extent, I'm buying the same game twice, just getting more fluff. And whenever I'm spending rulebook prices, I kind of want to get more than that. I love it. And if I was going to buy, if I'd not got the core rulebook, and I was looking at, okay, I want to get into this game, and you know, maybe I'm a player and I've developed a character and I'm playing the game every night, and I've been playing in a party, and I'm going, I really need to get a rule book. Go with this one. You're going to love it. You're going to have an absolute ball. If you've already got it, if you're a collector like I am, you'll buy it. You just will. I like, you know, I like having the set. But on the other side of the coin, I think this could have been one of those moments where I would have been just blown away by this as an expansion. So taking out the core rules, taking out those bits, stick with NPCs and stick with, you know, a couple of the ships. There's something about making it a core rule, but I can see why they did it, because actually it sits somewhere between in terms of content size. I can see why they would do this. And the idea of running a true campaign that's Klingon is awesome. It's a brilliant idea. But personally, I don't know. It's kind of like, if it was an expansion, 5 out of 5. No question about it. There's some really good stuff in there. As a rule book, if you've already got the game, probably about a 3 out of 5. As a rule book, I don't regret buying it, but it's not as it's not quite as sharp. I think it's kind of feels like stuck between two places, and that's the bit I'm a bit nah. You know, it's one of those weird ones. So whenever you look at this, I guess that's the thing. Have a think for yourself. Read other reviews, but it is a core rulebook price, and you need to think that through. If you've got the rulebook already and you're a big Klingon fan, you're going to go and buy this because there's a lot of stuff in here that's good. If you are not a massive Klingon fan, you're going, well, I might run it, and it's not it's not the kind of book that I would say think carefully about it. That's me. That's an honest review. So an honest review in this one is, as a rule book, it's a bit, it's okay, but it's expensive for what it is. Because actually, if you've already got Star Trek Adventure Core, it's expensive for what it is. If you don't, buy it. It's good. You know, it's robust. On the other hand, as a expansion, yeah, if it was expansion prices, it would blow everybody away with bells on. I think it's really good. There's just so much fun in it. You know, there's a lot of fun bits in it. But actually, somehow one of the things that happens with this is because you're sitting going, oh yeah, I've seen that before. I've seen that before. I've seen that before. Oh, there's a new bit. And it kind of dilutes it. It kind of has diluted the impact of all the really cool, fantastic bits. And ironically, what it means is that you're in this position where, in some ways, we are talking about the least anemic race in Star Trek. And yet somehow it feels a little bit anemic. It feels a little bit, I like it, but, you know, it's Klingon. I want it to punch me in the face. You know, I want this thing to grab my throat and rip it out. It's so awesome, you know? And it kind of feels more like it slaps me around the face a bit and goes, nah, have that. So, yeah, that's where I'm at on it. I'm not sure. That's my first impression. I'll do a full review in the next couple of weeks. And whenever I've got a proper chance to go through and dig into it. So, but it's good, but it just feels a bit diluted and watered down. It's kind of, it's still Modiphius. It's still a fantastic thing, but it just doesn't feel like that bang in your face with a bat'leth that you kind of want from a Klingon book. That's me. That's my opinion, and that's my honest opinion about it. Okay, thank you for watching. Discuss if you've got this and you think it's awesome. Say that, okay? And if I might be completely wrong, it's been a long day. I may be completely wrong in this, but if you think it's, you know, if you've got it, you've looked at this and you think, oh man, that's just incredible. He's got it completely wrong. Comment below, please do. If you feel actually I'm right, comment below. We do a lot of content on different role-playing systems and different games, tabletop games as well. If you want to support us, we're totally independent, which is why we can give an honest opinion about stuff. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. And we do sell t-shirts like the one I'm wearing, and ones that are cooler than that. And they sort of get put back into the games that we buy and you see on screen, help fund it a little bit. But to be honest, please, have a lovely weekend. That's the core thing when you get there. And see you next time. Bye bye.